So I want to take just a few seconds and go over Colossians and its impact on the New World Translation of the Bible, which is the Jehovah's Witnesses Bible. At church the other day, we were going over in a sermon's discussion unrelated, but I realized, oh wait, these verses probably don't read the same in the New World Translation, and they don't. And I thought that given what the original Greek said, this was worth bringing up. Anyway, this is a boring video. My PowerPoint and / video skills are terrible. I'm a troglodyte, so this is going to be really bad. But I hope the info is at least helpful. All right, talking to Jehovah's Witnesses is awesome and rewarding. They are made in the image of God, and as Christians, we should want to go and talk to them and not be afraid of them. I know several who are. And I will say this too, if you ever do talk to one, if you've never done it, they know their Bible really well. Really well. Okay, they are experts in it, and all of the verses in the Bible that show the limitation of Christ while in human form on earth, they have memorized. Because it is their stance that Jesus is created, is the first thing created by God. Through him all other things were created. And he is God's firstborn. They would not use the term demigod, but it's actually not inaccurate for how they think of him. That he has godlike powers, divine quality, but he is not God according to them. And so, that said, in their Bible, there are obvious places where Jesus is still referenced as God. And then there's also points where you can show them with their own sources how they had to change their Bible in order to fit their theology, as opposed to letting the Bible guide their theology. And there's 2 points here in Colossians that I'm gonna use to discuss that. So let's dive in on that. So Colossians 1:16. All right, on the upper left you have the NWT, that's the Jehovah's Witness Bible. On the upper right you have the NIV. Insert any generic normal Christian Bible. ESV is my normal one I use, but this one was what I just scanned in real fast. Bottom right, you have the Greek interlinear. So this shows the original Greek and the word-for-word translation. If you've never used one before, they're fantastic for trying to get to the basics of what was trying to be conveyed by the writers. And then as a bonus in here, I've got Psalm 89:27, and I'll get to that. So first things first on Colossians 1:16. Going from the New World Translation is because by means of him all other things were created. Again, Jehovah's Witnesses think that Jesus was created by God and then everything else was created by him. So he has a start. He is not eternal. He is not God. Moving over, you've got the NIV, which shows that for in him all things were created. So everything was created, and then the rest of the verse goes into all the details, visible, invisible, you name it. Every single thing. That verse says everything was created by Jesus, not every other thing, which means Jesus was already there. He is not created. He is eternal. He is co-eternal with God the Father. So what does the original Greek say? Well, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses Greek interlinear, because in him it was created the all things in the heavens. There's no other. The word other does not exist there. There is a word for other in Greek. It is not there. So it's actually very clear that it was added by the Jehovah's Witnesses, by the Watchtower, as their way of changing Scripture to fit their theology, to try to show Jesus is not divine. But to do that, they have to either add or remove things from the Bible. Now, if you ever bring up this verse to Jehovah's Witness, they're immediately going to bring up the preceding verse, which is, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. Because they read firstborn, probably as a lot of people read firstborn, to mean the first child born. That's misleading for a couple of reasons. First off, they don't take it fully literally. They're not LDS or Mormon, so they don't believe there's a heavenly mother. So they don't believe God the Father actually birthed Jesus. They just use that term figuratively to mean first created. But that's also not what it means. So Psalm 89:27 is a great example of this. This is talking about David. And King David, famously, the Old Testament, says, I will place him as firstborn. He is not the firstborn. If you've read it, everyone knows he's the youngest of all of his brothers, the runt of the litter. But he becomes firstborn, preeminent. That's what it means, preeminent. And so in Colossians 1:15, it's describing Christ as preeminent, not that he's created, especially when you take that in conjunction with 16, which shows that he was not created. Everything was created through him. He was already co-eternal. And so that right there, one example in Colossians of how New World Translation is not accurate. So another great example, we were actually covering this verse in church this week, and then unrelated, when I read it, I was like, oh, I forgot about this verse. There's no way the New World Translation reads the same way as this. And lo and behold, it does not. So then, of course, what do you do if you've got conflicting verses? Well, try to go back to the original. What do we have here? So I went and pulled up the New World Translation Greek interlinear. And so you can see in here, it's talking about Jesus. It says, because it is in him that all the fullness of the divine quality dwells bodily. So again, Jehovah's Witnesses have to say the quality. They can't say full divinity because that would make Jesus God. So they get around it by saying he has a divine quality. Again, they don't call him a demigod, but in reality, they think of him as a demigod. Standard Bible, the fullness of deity lives in bodily form. Fullness of God, fullness of deity, all of God's powers. It's not like God, it is God. So what does the Greek say? Because in him is dwelling down all the fullness of the divinity bodily. Not divine quality, not likeness of it, fullness of the divinity bodily. And so there you have it. Here's two examples if you ever choose to engage with a Jehovah's Witness and talk to them. I think these are really easy to bring up. You can just do a quick Google on your phone. If you do a Google search of NWT Greek Interlinear, it'll pop right up, and you can show them this. And again, it's their own source. They kind of have to use it because they're not allowed to look at anything else. It's a high control group, fits within most definitions of a cult, and they're not allowed to look outside of whatever is given to them by the Watchtower. And so by using their own source, it gives you about the only credibility that you could get, and you're using the Bible against them. It's not an outside source. You're not. They're much less likely to listen to you if you start bad mouthing their founders and the false prophecies they have and other things that have been generated by the Watchtower over the years. So stick to the Bible. Share the gospel with them. They are made in the image of God. They are worth your time. Christ died for them too. And here's the start for you. Anyway, all the best. God bless. And until next time.